Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In Surah Nisa, verse 119, Allah says, وَلَا أُضِلَنَّهُمْ وَلَا أُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَا أَمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَا يُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. And the translation of this verse is, Iblis says, I will mislead them and I will arouse in them sinful desires, and I will command them so that they slit the ears of cattle, and I will command them so that they will change the creation of Allah. Now, in the previous episode, I spoke about the dangers of getting obsessed with people or things. This involves shirk because at that moment, Allah is no longer our priority. We will do whatever we can to obtain and keep the things that we are obsessing over. And I also told you that your test will come through the things that you are obsessed with, because Allah is warning you to change your ways before it's too late. But besides helping us save our akhirah, there is another reason that Allah tests us through the things that we obsess over. And that is because He's trying to save us from depression. When you are constantly thinking about someone or something and you are adamant on attaining it, you experience an identity crisis, which means you forget your nature, your principles, the things that are important to you, and you do whatever you can to get to your goal. Nothing else matters. So for instance, if you are desperate to be accepted by your friends, you might force yourself to dress a certain way, to talk a certain way, behave a certain way. That really just isn't you. It's like you transform and you become someone completely different. Or maybe you are desperate to please your boss and you want a promotion. So you become someone different when you are at work. You will transform yourself according to what your boss likes. At that moment, it is true that Allah is not your priority and that you will do or say anything, even if you know it will incur the anger of Allah, just because you're desperate to please the people around you. But there is another problem. You will eventually experience an identity crisis. When you adopt so many different roles, you start to forget who you actually are. You forget your strengths, your preferences, your principles, your values. It's almost as if you don't even recognize who you've become. And when you experience an identity crisis, you inevitably move towards depression, because even if you end up pleasing the people you are desperate to please, or you end up getting the things that you are obsessing over, your heart will be empty. There will be no happiness in it. You will not be at peace because you are suffering from an identity crisis. You have now moved towards depression. But of course, we could ask, why is identity so important anyway? If I get what I wanted and I please the people I wanted to please, who cares if I lose myself along the way? Can I not just transform and become a new me? This is where you have to understand the concept of fitrah. Your fitrah is something that lies deep inside of you. It was the thing that you were born with. And not only does your fitrah want to worship one God, it wants to practice tawheed, but it also contains a blueprint of who you are. It contains a blueprint of your nature. Now, what does nature mean? Your likes, dislikes, habits, hobbies, preferences, strengths, weaknesses, skills, all of that makes up your nature, and all of that is in your fitrah. That is what you were born with. So of all the billions of people who live in this world, every single one has a unique nature and therefore a unique identity. Everyone's fitrah does want to worship one God, but at the same time, everyone's fitrah contains a unique combination of qualities and preferences and strengths, and that is what defines that person. So when you ignore your identity, when you transform yourself and you become someone you're not because you want to please somebody else, you're trying to change your fitrah. That is precisely what Iblis said that he would make us do. That's what you see in this verse. Iblis says that he will put false desires inside of us and he will encourage us to change Allah's creation, to change our fitrah. Now, of course, the fitrah is something that you were born with. You cannot change it. So instead, you just simply ignore it to the extent that your heart feels empty and you feel this weird sense of pain and hurt inside of you that you just cannot explain. You cannot escape your fitrah. You cannot become a new you, because the unique combination that Allah has given you is ideal for you. So what does this mean? Challenge yourself, because that will make you aware of your hidden strengths. It will make you overcome your weaknesses. It will make you discover your fitrah even more. But don't change your nature for somebody else. Understand your values and principles, your likes and dislikes, your preferences, the things that make you happy, the things that make you comfortable. That is you. Embrace it and love it. Otherwise, if you obsess over someone or something to the extent that you are trying to change yourself, not only will you destroy your akhirah because you're committing shirk, but you will destroy yourself. You will enter depression because you are experiencing an identity crisis by trying to ignore the fitrah that lies within. Assalamu alaikum.